Welcome visitor, my name is Dequin and I'm pleased to offer you the 10th part of the WoW Player's Diary. Return of Onixya. Naxxramas proved to be a successful experiment in reworking old content for new realities. So, in the small Intimidate content path 3.2.2, Blizzard decided to revive the daughter of the Blank Dragonflight leader, Onixya. It's worth noting that Onixya was arguably the very first raid boss in WoW. Back in Vanilla WoW launch, only 2 raids were available: the Huge Molten Core, with 12 bosses and tons of trash, and Onixya's Lair, which featured just a couple of small trash packs, and then the dragon herself. In that original version, the raid was designed for 40 players. My first raid in Onixya's Lair was after path 3.0.2, which removed the long attunement quest chain needed to enter the instance. 15 level 70 players trampled the Door Lizard in about 10 minutes. I went back several times in spring of 209 when the guild was actively doing fun raids in the older content. I teamed up with one of our Imba Paladin to farm her 3 times, mostly so I could skin her. Actually, he mainly brought me along so someone could skin her, since he'd already soloed her multiple times. The last time I saw the original Onixya 40 was in September 209. It was our second round that month, and this time I went slightly better. We got through the first phase almost without issues, but I died during the will phase. One of our Magi's who'd never been in instance before joined me on the floor soon after. The whips hit hard and Onixya's deep breath were dangerous, plus we lacked healing. In the end, we call it the same Imba Paladin decked out with 244 gears, and this time the lizard died in about 5 minutes. 2 tier 2 warrior helmet dropped. Path 3.2.2 itself wasn't revolutionary. Previous path overall felt like a transitional content primarily designed to help players gear up for path 3.3, Icecrown Citadel. Onixya's reincarnation into updated 25 player version was decent though. Blizzard essentially created another quick loot pinata similar to the Vault of Acheron bosses. Another farm zone with minimal trash and a single boss easily doable by both organized raids and packs. The new combat reward, a rare amount drop, the Reign of the Onixya Drake, continues to attract players even today. At the peak of popularity. In my opinion, Wrath of the Lich King, especially its second half, roughly 209-210, marked the peak of WoW's popularity, coinciding with its record subscribers number. Interesting, for almost a year after Wrath of the Lich King launched, Blizzard press releases didn't boast about population growth. The last official figure from January 209 stated subscribers had exceeded 11.5 million. Issues with the launch in China, including complication with local provider and server shutdowns, might have been a reason for the silence. However, other signs indicated the player base had stabilized and the developers' focus shifted towards retaining exciting subscriber rather than purely chasing growth. What factors suggested this shift? Several things pointed towards making the game more accessible and faster progress though. First, the Recruit a Friend program offered triple experience gains. Second, low-level players received access to cheap, fast amounts much earlier, almost right out the starting zones, speeding up quest completion. The experience recruited per level was significantly reduced, particularly in Outland, for 60-70 levels range. The difficulty of 5-player dungeons, which veterans told me had already been reduced back in the Burning Crusade, felt like it had been nerfed even further. Heirloom items were introduced specifically designed for veterans wanting to quickly pump and out for different roles. It seemed Blizzard created every possible condition to get both new players and those leveling their second or third character to level 80 endgame content in Northrend as quickly as possible. Speaking bluntly, Blizzard effectively treated level 1 to till 70 content as legendary irrelevant. No significant attempts were made to revitalize old zones with new quests or update classic dungeons for higher levels, despite players' requests. The plot of in these old zones remained frozen in post-vanilla timeline, which felt increasingly illogical as the main story advanced. But even with players being familiar towards Northrend, the challenge of raid content remained a barrier for many. Statistics suggested that only 20% of players in the Burning Crusade saw bosses beyond the initial tiers. Many guilds never progressed past Karajan or Zulaman. I think Blizzard realized that with the vast majority of subscribers now at level 80, the key to retention lay in reforming the raiding structure and accessibility. This led to following. Creating both 10 and 25 players version of raids. Making starting raid instances like Next Rammus considerably easier. Introducing single boss encounters with minimal or no trash, Voldavkaron, Sartarion, the revamped Onixya. Implementing optional hard modes in higher tier raids, Ulduar, Trial of Crusader, Icecrown Citadel. This stretched the difficulty, offering a manageable normal mode for most while retaining hardcore challenges for top players. Radically changing the emblem system and expanding crafted epic gear options, recipes from Ulduar and the Trial of Crusader, decoupling gear progression somewhat from strict raid boss kills. Allowing guilds to extend their raid lockouts by a week, adding a 2-hour window to trade mistakenly looted items within the raid. These changes meant that even very casual players now had meaningful endgame activities beyond grinding the same instances for months. Conditions were optimized to keep players engaged in relevant raid content. As I discussed earlier regarding casualization, these changes fit the trend of stretching the difficulty. Despite simplifying aspects like leveling, plenty of hardcore challenges remained. Not just raid modes, but also things like meta achievement. It's like insane or salty titles. Hunting the time-lost protodrake or taming rare hunting pets. There was still plenty for players seeking real difficulty and exclusive rewards. At a crossroad. In early October 2009, I wrote a blog post about my raiding experience. I talked about how the guild had killed the first boss in Trial of the Crusader and how we'd attempted Ulduar again but had to stop after 6 bosses, because of tank disconnected. The post included some mild grumbling and screenshot of our group proudly standing over the corpse of the Northrend Beast, the first TOC encounter. The comments on that post were revealing. TOC 10 normal can be cleared by 10 drunk noobs on level 213 Gs. How you guys are still progressing there? I don't get it at all. Deck, leave this guild. One raid night doesn't mean anything. Transfer to another realm. You won't get the progress you want in this guild. To Deckman. Don't be offended. People are telling the truth. And I agree with many here. TOC 10 and 25 also is crappy joke instance now and easily cleared by people in 219 Gs. A long thread followed, nearly 50 comments debating casual raiding, my lack of progress, and why I needed to get out of the countryside, referring to my server, Moonglade, which was indeed low ranked in WoW progress. This discussion finally pushed me over the edge. I realized I needed to change not just my guild, but my realm too. Over the year and a half I've been playing, I felt I'd grown as a player. Just as I was reasonable in real life, I applied the same attitude in raid preparation, researching fights, bringing consumables, chemistry and food, being on time. Unfortunately, the same couldn't be said for all my guildmates. People often showed up late, unprepared, undergeared, and sometimes petty drama erupted. Like one player rage quitting because someone they'd argued with on forums was also in the same raid group. A quick note for newer players. Before Path 5.2 in Miss Pandaria, raid sizes were fixed, exactly 10 or exactly 25 players. There was no flexible scaling like modern flex raids. Being even one person shot significantly impacted DPS healing and could halt progress. If one person was late, the other 9 or 24 often just had to wait. Honestly, I didn't want to leave. I had good friends on the server, and general chat channels often had interesting conversations about non-game topics. But I genuinely craved progression, and my current casual environment was starting to frustrate me. I wrote another blog post announcing my intention to transfer, which generated another huge comment thread. I think it still holds the record of my blog with over 100 replies. By then, the blog had gained some traction and attracting comments from players across the spectrum from casuals to hardcore. I decided to transfer to Garduni. This was top PvE realm among Russian servers at the time.